Hello and welcome to the podcast that doesn't have a name yet. I'm Sarah Harvey, your host, with my coworker, employee, what are you? Esthetician. What do I call you?
I'm your employee.
Employee. I know, but I always see you as my equal.
Yeah.
So, this is Rochelle.
Hi, everyone.
It's weird for me to say employee. Okay.
Is it?
Yeah.
We're teammates.
Mhm.
My teammate.
Yeah. So, I own Aspen Spa and Wellness Center, where we focus on healing mind, body, and soul. This is our first attempt at doing a podcast. We really don't have this planned, other than the fact we know we want to do it. So we're starting our episode 1, if this makes the cut. And I'm just going to discuss life. I want this podcast to be focused on being comfortable, being vulnerable, and discussing things you've gone through in life, your hardships, what you feel that you're learning in life, and the struggles and trials that come with it. So right now I'm recording it on a camera, but we also are live on TikTok. So kind of the real deal. If you guys have questions, I'll check it. I can probably do it on here. I'm going to check it to see if you guys have any questions and we can answer it that way. So let me bring this up. I don't even know. I guess I'll need to watch it.
I've never gone live before, so it's my first time.
Yeah. We might not be able to check it because I don't know how to watch my own live. So that might not work. I'll just come up there and check if you have questions. Okay, so I'm going to start just by, I guess I'll talk about why I'm doing this. I spoke at the Energy Healing Conference in Ogden this past weekend because I feel like I'm ready to step out on a platform to go public. When you go through trauma, you kind of want to repel people. You don't want attention because you've been hurt so much and betrayed by people that you don't want to be close to anyone again. And it's been about 6 years since I've gone through the initial trauma, and now I'm healed enough to want to be in the public eye a little bit more. My own journey, I was very sick, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, passing out, ulcerative colitis. And then my daughter has a lot of health issues that we've been working through, and her teeth have gotten really bad. So I opened a wellness center to try and teach other people how to heal the way that I've learned in a holistic way. And we're in that wellness center right now. This is Aspen Spa and Wellness Center. We're in the boutique area. What you're seeing right now is just our skincare and our supplements. We use Dr. Christopher's supplements, but I also will have my own line eventually. And then Rochelle is the esthetician, so she knows all about the skincare. She's also really good with energy work. She's very intuitive as well. So that's what put me here. I'm an only parent, and so it's kind of a constant growth and healing. But I think today I want to talk about Rochelle's journey. And what was it that we were talking about that kind of got us on this topic?
Well, we were talking about finances, and we were talking about our experience with having bad credit, and the thing that created my bad credit history was actually going to college and having that pressure to go to college and to make sure that I get there no matter what, even though I had no idea about financial wellness, and college is a huge financial investment. But because I experienced my own version of trauma as a child, college represented some kind of like way out. So I said, sign me up. I'll deal with the loans later. And I maxed myself out on all kinds of loans. And I was focused on school, so I wasn't getting any like work or like real life experience. I was just in school. So I wasn't building up my credit, and I was building up my debt. So my credit was tanking. And yeah, we were just talking about how I had kind of like a really sad story, and I was considered a minority group. I'm half Mexican, so I could check that box, and then I qualify for loans because of that. I was a foster kid. I check off that box, and they qualify for more loans. So it was like this big, manipulation into getting you to sign up for this like solution to your problems in a way. At least that's the way that it was sold to me. And because I couldn't handle the stress of all of that, I did end up having to drop out of college, and I had to, deal with the ramifications of not being able to pay for my semester that, I ran out of financial aid, and I had no idea how to manage that amount of debt. It was $20,000, and to me it might as well have been $1 million, because I was like, okay, what the heck do you want me to do? That's an incredible amount of money. I don't even have $100. I can't even afford my books. Like sometimes I can't even afford the bus fare to get to school. So I just ignored it.
Yeah.
And but since I've had to be plunged into the real world and created a work history, and I had to get a job and work, and I learned that I was fairly good with money. I saved. I didn't spend as much, but I would have never found that out unless I got the experience first versus,
just all this money handed to you.
All of this money handed to me for this education that I didn't even end up completing, even though I'm glad that I had the experience. A lot of times in your journey, especially with God, is that you'll learn something out of things that you wouldn't recommend somebody else going down that route, but you don't regret it for yourself.
Yeah. I have a similar story where when I was probably 20, I got a credit card limit. This is before, I'm assuming it was before the crash, when they were just handing out money to everyone, and my limit was $15,000. Oh, and I thought that was just free money, and I'm sure it had a high interest rate, but I furnished my apartment, I ate out, I did everything like that. And my dad was freaking out when he realized I had maxed out my $15,000 credit card. And so he took the bill and I just paid him for it, and eventually couldn't do that just through many hardships in my 20s. So he ended up taking on a lot of my debt just throughout my life. But so it started similarly, but we were talking about debt and how everything, so when we talk about God, you can, in term works for you. If you're atheist, you can just say higher self. It can really be a fluid term with whatever you want to say, but God is kind of an overall. So when we say God, just use whatever term fits you so that it doesn't trigger you. But for me, everything that God's asked me to do, especially in opening this wellness center and in business, has been based on debt. And it's been really confusing because when you study Dave Ramsey and everything finance-based, they say don't have debt. But as an intuitive, I channel and I hear God or higher self or whatever you want to call it very clearly. And there's no doubt in my mind, everything that I've been guided to do, the only way that I could do that was through credit card debt or another loan. And I used to pray about that. I'm like, why won't you just give me more business to pay for it? And for me, there's a verse in the Bible that says that you will be the lender, not the borrower, when you're in the blessings of God. And I felt that he said, yeah, you will be. That's future tense. And in order to be the lender, not the borrower, maybe you have to be the borrower first. And so, because then you have a good understanding of lending and what that feels like to need the money but not have it, so you can be more empathetic and compassionate when you have the money to help other people. And so I was told to go to Maui last year and take my daughter right after opening this wellness center. And I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know where the money was going to come from, but I bought the tickets. I did these payment plans that you can do now. And right before we were supposed to leave, I didn't have the rest of the money I needed to pay the remainder of the hotels. And I prayed. I said, God, are you sure you want me to do this? And as I'm praying, I get a notification in my email that my Discover card increased my rate $2,000. So now I had the money, but again, it was on credit card debt. And so that's something that I haven't really figured out yet. And every time I'm asked to do something, I will have the exact amount I need, or it'll be brought to me. And so I'm trusting it because everything is constantly flowing and being provided for. The way it's provided for, I don't think we have a say in, because God's ways are not our ways. We're constantly learning and growing. And that's why you have to trust and surrender the path. So as you're in this debt, you just kind of had to surrender it, right?
Yeah, I did, and I just accepted that this was my path, and I had to work now. Instead of going to school, I couldn't continue my degree. I had to enter into the workforce, and I had to move out of my parents' house. And that was such an important time for me to move out of my parents' house and begin working. And it's like I was in school, and my chosen major was youth ministry. I was very much involved in the Christian evangelical church. I'm not anymore today, but that's a part of my background. It's a part of my story, and that's really what I wanted to do. And it wasn't something that was going to pay off my debt. It was just something that I was doing out of faith as well.
Yeah.
Or feeling like I need to be true to myself. So I'm going to do this. It didn't work out, but I felt like I grew so much as a person, experiencing that disappointment and really like questioning God in those times. And I'm sure you've had those moments, like you're feeling like, what is happening right now? God, I believe in you. I'm trusting. I'm a person who has faith. Why is this working out in this way? And it's not clean and pretty and perfect. It's messy, and I don't know the way. But I'm growing so much. I was able to see myself as a productive member of society, and I got to manage my own cash flow. And I ended up meeting my husband in the process, and kind of like emerging into womanhood, so to speak. So yeah, I feel like you never know what is 10 steps ahead. I feel like it is good to like make those great plans and have strategy, but life is sometimes messy, and having the right perspective in the moment, I think, allows you to have the amount that you need in the moment for whatever it is you're being required of.
Yeah.
Just like you said, like that surrendering. And eventually I was able to build up my credit so that I could qualify for credit cards or whatever and help my family, you know, because those people like demonize credit cards or whatever, but credit cards paid my kid's dental bill in a moment. And it's like, in the moment, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It was a good thing.
It's a solution to a problem.
It's a solution to a problem.
Yeah.
And, you know, you do what you can with what you have.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the lesson.
Yeah.
And, you know, learning along the way. I think that having financial knowledge before, you know, a certain age is really important. So I want to teach my kids so that they don't have to have like this school of hard knocks experience that I'm having. But also, if they do end up themselves in a situation, it's not the end of the world. You know, you're going to make it through. It looks messy right now, but you're going to make it through. And sometimes not having money gives you this opportunity to show up in a certain way that you wouldn't have if you had all the money.
You can be creative, and it's more like a treasure hunt in a way, and you really like the little things. Like, for example, when I was a single mom and my daughter was young, there was a flower company that did a punch card. You paid $40, and every month you get a free bouquet for a year. And then Godiva Chocolate would give one free chocolate every month, if you remember. And then our mall would have like dollar carousel rides or the train ride. So every month we would go do those 3 things. And I felt so rich and fancy because we got Godiva chocolate, a bouquet of flowers, and a train ride.
That is so sweet. And you wouldn't have been able to appreciate those things if you started off with a ton of money. And it is so interesting about how that experience of struggle helps you to appreciate the abundance that you experience after you experience the struggle. So it's like, you know, it's like that, you know, count it all joy.
Yeah.
When you go through various trials and tribulations. Like if you're having a hard time, if your bank account is 0, like instead of freaking out, because the emotional response creates an energy signature,
chaos
right?
And fear.
Like, I'm afraid, I don't have anything, how am I going to pay the bills? And you know, it really puts you out of balance. But when you have nothing, you know, in this plane, in this 3D world, your account is zero, and you're still able to find yourself feeling abundant, you overcome that lesson, and God provides, or you attract whatever it is that you need.
And I feel like you're more in a childlike wonderment, because you're not in control and you're not bringing the things in, so everything you get is a gift, and it's exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My son, every time we would ask him, what do you want for your birthday? He would say, a birthday cake. And it's just so precious to us, because we're like, oh, like, our birthday, it's a time to, like, choose a gift, choose some kind of, like, get what you want. And he's so amazed at the fact that on your birthday you get a cake. You know? And so I feel like that's, like, it's a good place to be, you know, because
Simple.
you're rich in yourself, and you're not reliant on these, because money is just energy. Money is just a symbol that we've created to keep track of things, and to provide some kind of symbol that represents, this is of value. And we can say, we the people can say if something is of value or not, right? Like, we're the ones that say this is worth, you know, $200.
Right. And that's how I feel about debt. My parents are very concerned with debt. And I'm thinking, you know, it is energy. Sometimes you have positive energy. Sometimes you have negative energy. It just comes and flows. And to me, if I say this is my need and the solution provided is this much, then okay, I'll take it. And that's just the exchange. Whereas someone else might get a smaller, like the interest rates or something. So I don't even look at interest rates or how long it's going to take me to pay it off or anything like that. I'm thinking, you have a solution to what I need, I'll take it. And so, because we don't know what's coming in the next year. So let's just say sometimes credit cards can go up to like 30%. They might max out at that. I don't know. I don't know the law on that. But they can go up to 30% interest. And for me, if that's the route that I can get what I need at the moment, then I'm just going to go ahead and take it, because that might help me have an abundance more that I can pay it off with in the future, where this, I don't know, let's just throw it out, like a 3-year loan would scare some people. But for me, I'm like, I'll take it. It's a solution, because I have a mindset that I will be overabundant and flowing with everything that I need. So to me, debt doesn't scare me. And so the world today thinks debt is bad, but I think it was Grant Cardone, he's a billionaire, and he said the world has a completely bad idea of money and debt. And he doesn't, I don't even think he owns his home. He rents his home so that he can invest his money in other things. And so he says, don't ever have money in savings or anything. It needs to always be working for you. And he's all about debt. So credit card debt, I don't know. But for me, that has been how everything has worked. So I just think that live in the moment and do what you feel is right. Don't listen to what anyone else feels like. But also when you were talking about, when we were discussing the gifts that God gives us, that's why I like gardening so much, because, and I named this Aspen Rose because my dad used to take us to Colorado to see the aspen trees every summer. And my grandmother, his mom, was always talking about her roses. She would always be like, come look at my roses. And my mom's a big gardener too, but the roses was always kind of a running joke. And so I'm a lot like my grandmother, so I have probably 20 rose bushes within my yard. But every day I walk out there and they've given me a new blessing, and they smell amazing and they're gorgeous. I've got rose bushes of every color. And so it's like these gifts that you get in the moment. And that's why I like gardening, because it just, you get a seed and it continually yields, you know, day after day. There's some hard work though. There's hard work in it.
Yeah, and I think that the main thing is your attitude.
Yeah.
You know, don't go signing up for a ton of loans if you are in a state of fear and you are freaking out and you are like if you have business ideas, but you're thinking this business idea is going to, make me feel more secure and make me feel more safe. It's like you say yes to this solution to this problem because you're in a sense of ease in the moment. Not always.
Where it's the right thing. Yeah. It's like a peace that you don't understand.
Yeah, and you don't always have to have like that hallelujah faith. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But in that moment when you feel the peace, like you said, and I feel like I've heard other people confirm this, like you feel a peace about it, and I think it's your intuition and your relationship with God or the universe that, you're not signing up for this solution to this problem out of fear, but you believe that this is a provision. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what makes a difference. It doesn't really matter what it is. Yeah. It matters the state of your heart in the moment of receiving. Mm-hmm. And just like you said, this is just one phase of, receiving. And then one day you will be the lender, like you said. One day you will be in a position where you will be managing large amounts of money, but you will have never known how to even begin to manage it unless you were not given these small opportunities to manage your credit card bill or to get these loans that are this fixed amount of money. So yeah, I love that idea of being able to receive and having that attitude like, I'm not afraid. Yeah. And I have this big faith. And I just love stories like that. Like I've heard so many stories like that where people believe in themselves so much that they're kind of going to do something reckless. Yeah. Other people are going to see you and they're going to see what you're doing as reckless. Yeah.
My life, exactly. Yeah.
You're reckless. And it's like, you don't know what this feels like. Mm-hmm. You don't know how I feel like this is in alignment. Yeah. I have not felt this way. Like you feel like it's so much in alignment. And I do think that we need those moments where we can see ourselves not being swayed by other people's opinions too. I feel like that's an opportunity for us to say, I didn't listen.
Because everyone's it's not their vision, it's yours. So they're not going to understand it. When I opened this wellness center, my sister, who's a big conspiracy theorist, sorry if she sees this, she goes, we're not going to be here much longer. And I'm thinking, no, like everyone's going to, or she said, I don't see it happening. And I'm thinking, you don't need to see it happening. It's not your vision. So you're going to be met with negativity on every decision you make. And you've got to be okay to be different because you can't make a difference unless you're different. And so you need to be okay to be the outsider because that's the one that leads the way, that clears the path. And so many people are afraid to be seen as chaotic or unhinged by what they're doing. But I can't tell you the amount of messages I've gotten with people concerned about my decisions in life. I've moved across the country 3 different times. I used to own a photography studio. I sold that, moved back to Tennessee, came back here. And you just go with the flow and everything works out. There really is no fear in it other than your own limitations. And another thing when it comes to finances and energy and money is your mindset on if you believe that you're abundant, you will be. But if you're not, and if you have a lack mindset, then you'll never bring it in. And that's one thing where I saw someone in an ad saying, why are so many energy healers lacking abundance and stuck in poverty? But I think it's because people that want to do good for other people don't feel worthy of charging. And you don't have the mindset of power where it's going to take a lot of money, probably in the millions, for what I want to do for the world. Multiple healing centers, healing retreats, travel, speaking engagements, books, so many things. That's going to cost probably in the millions. And I need to make money to do that. So I need to charge what I'm worth. And people will value that. If you're not charging a lot, they're not going to value your services. They're not going to show up. They're going to cancel on you or just not come in. And you'll attract what you put out. And so the more that you value yourself and what you're offering and who you are, you're going to attract those that are also high value people. And when it comes to money, if you're raised in a very wealthy society, then you'll probably carry that on because that's all you know. You're not going to go to poverty unless certain situations in your family have happened. Versus, like in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if you grow up in poverty, all you're hearing your whole life. Oh, did our TikTok stop? Let me check on that real quick. No, we're still live, I think. Yeah, are we still live? Yeah, I think we are. Yeah, we are. Okay, so if you grow up in poverty, then you there's probably a question on there I need to go look at. You hear your whole life, who do you think you are? You can't have that. No, that's too expensive. Anything negative about money. And so that's your mindset your whole life, and there's fear about it. And so then you hold on to what you do have. And when you hold on to something, it doesn't grow, it smothers out and dies. But the more that you freely give and that you freely take action, that energy just keeps growing. So
yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think one thing that's really important is if you do have gifts, is to find some way to be compensated for it. If you're new at it, obviously work yourself up to feel good about it so that you're not insecure, like, I'm charging this amount, am I going to be able to perform? But if you know that you have this gift, and you feel also like when you do it, you're giving of yourself, you need to be paid for it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you will get bitter.
And you'll burn out. And that energy will
burn out.
Which we have experienced recently with having a bitter employee, and it really turned out to bite us in the butt. Because I gave this person the benefit of the doubt. They slandered my name. Their negative, bitter energy went into their sessions, and it really damaged a lot of things. Now we're doing damage control. We're reaching out to those clients, trying to get them back in to give us a second chance. So, yeah, and it's important also that we don't project our own problems onto everyone else as if they're the cause of it. We need to realize everything that we see in our world is a direct reflection of our subconscious mind. There's tons of science behind this. So if that's interesting you, just go look it up. But it's a ripple effect of who we are and what we are manifests around us. And so if we're seeing the world as this horrible place, it's because we've got all that in our heart that we need to heal. And a big one for me on my platform, I am going to go global with this because I have a mission to bring healing and peace and unity to the world. Because I'm done with the division. I'm done with the anger and the hatred. It's just, we're beyond it. We have matured too much to still have this in our world. And so my platform is going to be on that. But I'm on this platform to say, if you see racism, that probably means that you're racist as well. So if you heal the racism and the hatred and the division within you, you won't see it. I don't see any hatred, any racism, because it's just not in my mind at all. I don't see that. I love everybody. You're a person. And I'm going to ask, what do you need from me to help you heal? And what can you do for me as a friend as well? And then if you're seeing anger, that's one thing I was dealing with. That's why I brought an employee in without realizing it. I was harboring a lot of anger and resentment in my heart 6 years later because, first of all, it was just in my DNA from my ancestral bloodline. And then the things I've gone through, I'm just still so angry. And so I brought in an angry employee, and I was seeing the connection. And the more that I did healing within myself to remove that, she left. And so you'll see that as well. So I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, yeah, definitely. People do shine a mirror on us, and you just never know. I think that when you're intuitive, you begin to see it. Like when somebody walks into your life and you begin to say, okay, what is it like? Why is this person in my life right now? And it just makes you more watchful. And it's so interesting how you said, like, you attracted that. And it's like, it's not really like a bad thing. Like you attracted that person and it shined a light in you. And because you are in this like river of surrender, sort of. You're able to you were able to like turn this negative experience into a lesson. You grew out of it. I do see that you've even changed. Like I've been working with you almost a year.
And I told you, I was like, I'm so like angry. I want to like, I've talked to you about it.
Yeah, and just like being in a state of complaining.
Yeah.
And it's normal, and we accept one another, and we're okay with it. But we're like, okay, now it's time to grow a little
Suck it
bit.
up. Yeah.
Now it's time to be more positive. Like, let's be the healers that we say we want to be.
Right, exactly. Let me check this stuff real quick. This is our first time, and there's a lot going on here.
I know. I literally have no idea how to work that.
I'm going to see if there's any questions. How do I get rid of this? Swipe left to close. Okay, and then let me restart this. Okay, so my camera only records 30 minutes at a time, so that's good to know. All right, let's see. I wonder if this just keeps shutting down and starting over.
Have you gone live before?
Yes, but not for an hour.
How long have we been talking?
Probably 30 minutes, because that's why that shut down.
Okay.
I don't know how much it's caught. So...
Yeah, like so far as audio.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm projecting and you're projecting really well. I hope that it's...
I know. If we're losing this, then...
It's okay.
Go with the flow. Let it surrender.
I had a good conversation with you.
Yeah.
Anyways, maybe your camera will record it.
Yes. So I have the first half hour minus 5 minutes of your spiel. Do you want to go back into that really quick? Because maybe we need to...
Did it not catch it?
Not that one part. So what you just said.
About attracting...
About how you had noticed that I had been negative and we worked through that and...
Yeah, I've been working here for about a year, and I've seen how you, after onboarding that individual, we started to be more like we didn't like that. Like we didn't like that we were all
like all of us. We're starting to be really complaining,
bitching.
Yeah.
All the time, like, oh, did they tip?
Yeah.
Oh, they canceled.
They didn't show up.
Like, this again, or I'm tired, my back hurts, my bra's too tight.
Yeah.
It's like, can we just be positive? Like, I'm in the treatment room telling people to have a positive outlook on life. It's like, let's be this already.
Yeah.
Let's start being this way. And I saw you
shift.
Yeah, and it was almost like an intolerance. Like, I don't want to be this way anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
and then you named it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that helps too.
Well, when I had a private practice, I could be that. But then I had to be in charge of sometimes 5 and 6 clients or employees, depending over the year how many we had in here. And I was like, okay, when we were slow, it really came out because I was stressed trying to hold this all together. And I didn't want to project my problems onto my employees because I was trying to create a space of healing. And so I was like, all right, I need to get my act together. And I also noticed how it was overflowing because I was creating a dynamic of bad attitude that, again, your reality is a reflection of yourself. And as I healed, I went to our hypnotherapist, Janae, a couple times, and we worked through that. She helped me see some things in a better way. And I was able to release my anger, or a good bit of it. And I started telling Rochelle, I'm like, I don't want to be around this anger anymore. And shortly after, probably about a month or so after, the person that was really red all the time left. And so now, even Tatum, our other esthetician, she's like, the energy here has changed so much. Yeah.
And I think that will happen is that we will all be in sync, and we'll all be, you know, kind of having this collective consciousness where we're all kind of picking up on that signal. Like, it's time to release some anger. And I don't know if I'm an angry person, but I would complain with you guys. Like, I would be like, oh, that's so inconsiderate. Like, I'm more like a hype man. Like, if you're mad, I'll be like, let's beat him up. Like, I'm with you. That's messed up. Like, I will never, like, if you're upset, like, I'm like, yeah, you have the right to be upset.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, it's good to be like, well, let's have a positive mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as we all started to agree to that,
yeah,
the individual that didn't want to do that,
yeah,
she ended up just
quitting.
Yeah, she ended up
Mm-hmm.
just not being a part of this
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And who knows, maybe she needed to get
Yeah.
space away from this.
Well, I think that particular person, when I read their energy, they needed to go and work on their own in a private practice, but they were scared. And so they were angry because they didn't feel like they were getting what they deserved.
Yeah.
And so anger can be a wonderful thing if you use it to fuel your passion.
Yeah.
Because anger gives you energy that's almost like superhero
Yeah.
strength. And so if you can funnel that anger, it's a good thing to project you onto your calling and your path. And that's kind of what I've done. In my divorce, I heard some crazy things that I've never heard about myself. My mother-in-law just swore that I was pregnant with my daughter's father's baby, and that we were going to take my husband's money and run off together. And I saw the text messages. And then my brother-in-law called me a gold digging bitch, and I was just like floored. So I have a lot of anger that I will prove to you that you're all wrong about my character, and I'm reclaiming my character just by being who I am and continuing to grow. And so it doesn't mean that I need to retaliate, but I am going to prove them wrong just by continuing to uphold my character, because that will show itself. So
yeah, I mean, that speaks to me so much, because I think that you have a moon in Scorpio, right?
I do. Mm-hmm.
My husband is a Scorpio rising, and he has that where anger will give him this. It's scary to be around, and it can be a force, but it also gives him this weird clarity.
Oh, okay.
Like, he's able to solve problems, and I get sensitive. I'm sensitive.
Yeah.
So I will sometimes feel like, you know, I don't know where to stand when he's in this his anger is activated. And I had to learn, like, he's solving a problem right now.
Mm-hmm.
And if I interject, it's not because he doesn't see me as he doesn't think that I'm not valuable, or like I can't provide a solution to the problem. It's because his anger actually gives him this fuel to like solve a problem.
Yeah.
And it's so, like, he does it every time.
Uh-huh.
Like, he will figure it out, and it's different for everybody. I'm not really like, I don't really get angry in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I get hurt
and
I get a little bit bitter. And so I have to I have to separate myself from my emotions and be like, this is not you.
Yeah.
You know? So that it's just different. Like, it's just different personalities. But I feel like I love to see people who use that as fire. It's so inspirational. And I'm just always inspired by you in that story. Like, it's like it propels you.
Yeah.
You know? And you're like, I'm not gonna be beaten down by it. I'm pissed off, but I'm gonna rise above. I'm gonna be victorious.
Yeah.
Despite that. And
yeah. A big part of my trajection forward, is that the right term? Trajection? Yeah. Was that everything was taken from me and my daughter on her 8th birthday. That was the last time we saw her stepfather and sister and her real father, because her real father moved to Texas, got on drugs, went to prison. So we never heard from any of that ever again, 6 years in. And I was left alone with all of those health issues and stuff with my daughter as well, to completely rebuild our lives, just me and her. And there's a lot of philosophies that you will get back what has been taken from you. And so I held God accountable to that he would double what he took from me. And I have held him accountable for 6 years. And that's why the vision that I feel he's given me over my life, It's going to cost millions. Did we have millions married? Absolutely not. But that's a double portion, if not more. It's the increase on what was lost. And I heard today, spiritually speaking, we have spiritual insurance where if something happens to us, it is our right, it's our birthright as a human on this earth to have insurance that we get. It's a promise to be paid for what is taken from us. For what we go through, we have a spiritual promise to be reimbursed. Only it's way more than what was taken. So it's a double portion. And that was a big thing for me, where you stay surrendered, but the anger is, you owe me and I'm going to fight until I see it happen. Similarly, with if you're done wrong and you're in a lawsuit and you're the rightful winner of this, but they're taking everything from you, you rightfully deserve what is owed to you, and you've got to fight for it, because people are lazy and they're greedy and they're not going to give you what you're asking for in most cases. And so you've got to be able to have that fire behind you to make things happen.
Yeah, I really love that idea. I've never heard that before, but I feel like it coincides with like the language of being redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
Like to have redemption, like to have something, like to redeem something is to basically just like go get something that already belongs to you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I'm just going to, collect this, my birthright. Mm-hmm. And it's so wonderful that you say that, like, if you are a person who's been taken from,
mm-hmm.
Against your will, either as a child or in some situation where you were manipulated into signing up for something that you had no idea about, and you feel like you were, not to have a victim mentality, but to feel like, wow, that was not my fault at all.
Yeah, yeah.
And to have a faith to say, like, there is justice. Mm-hmm. Justice exists, and energy, everything is energy, and things have to balance out.
Uh-huh.
Whether you believe in God,
yeah,
whether you are a Christian, whether you are a Muslim,
mm-hmm.
the understanding of energy exchanges is becoming more prevalent.
Just
like you said,
mm-hmm.
in mainstream science, people are studying
mm-hmm. and karma.
Literally.
Yeah, even if like Buddhism, I think, is the one that believes in karma.
Mm-hmm.
That it's so real. What you put out comes back every time, and it is completely just. And also, you got to think about, okay, things that are horrific that happen to us. What did our ancestors do that caused that to trickle down for us to have to pay for? Because there is a debt. Like, yeah, right? Like there has to be a debt paid for wrongdoings. And that's why also it's so important that you do follow your intuition and do everything to the best of your ability, because it's not just about you, it's about your lineage.
Yeah, your descendants.
Yeah.
I always think about that. Like, I think about, what am I, creating here? Because I've been the recipient of, like, curses, I feel.
Yes.
Like, curses.
Absolutely.
From
mm-hmm.
your family, like things.
Bloodline curses.
It's
mm-hmm.
like, person after person after person in your family going through the same thing.
Around the same time, too.
At the same
mm-hmm.
time in their life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or just like in the same exact way.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little bit like diluted or whatever. I feel like as you do the work and as you generate positivity, you can
water it down a little bit. Well, that's so scripturally it says that God puts the sins of the fathers to the third and fourth generations, but the blessings to thousands. And again, scientifically speaking, it's called epigenetics. Mm-hmm. That we carry the cells of the next 3 to 4 generations within us. So everything we go through, good and bad, alters the next generations. So
yeah, especially mm-hmm. women, because we have all of the eggs mm-hmm. inside of us.
Yeah,
and it's like you were literally inside of your grandmother's
while
body.
They were going through it.
Yeah, because you when you're developing in the womb, you develop all of your eggs too, mm-hmm. which is wild.
Yeah, yeah.
And everything that they're experiencing while they're pregnant with your mom
mm-hmm. goes into them.
Is affecting you.
Yeah.
And so I do feel like I've experienced that, like, the recipient of being curses, and it's like can we give people blessings? Can we give, our descendants some blessings? And I think that I have received some blessings.
Yeah.
It's not all bad. I feel like I really admire my grandmother and some things about my mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
even, I think that even, well, there's a lot. The reason that I think we focus on the negative, because there's so much good that we're just never going to know versus how bad it could be, is that the negative things that happen to us shouldn't be there. And so it's like a thorn. You're only going to focus on the thorn until you pull it out. And so genetically, our DNA, it's trying to heal. And so it's sending signals up constantly for us to work through it. And so those memories from trauma are constantly coming up so we can work through it, because when you work through it, you bring it to light, it waters it down. And so then the next generation doesn't have to go through it, because speaking about it makes, but that's your power. Keeping it hidden, I don't know if that's like a philosophy that says anything hidden will come to the light.
That's
in
Jesus
the Bible?
said that.
Okay, yeah.
Everything that's done in darkness will be brought to light.
Exactly.
And I fully believe that.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that so much, even in my family actions that have taken place. And it just, I don't know, just something in your gut kind of tells you to believe something. And so I always am like, not worried about things coming to balance or justice being taken place. Sometimes you have to be the warrior. Sometimes you have to be the one to facilitate justice, but you know when it's time. And I think that also having that duality of accepting that it's going to happen, and then also knowing when you're the one that's going to usher it in.
Yeah. There's a time to step up, and there's a time to just step out and step back. And I think a lot of times that's where that anger comes in, where it's righteous anger, and then you make things happen. So I think now is a pretty good time to kind of close out. Do you have any ending statements, or should we see if there's any questions?
You can take a look to see if there's questions.
Yeah. This is another segment because it's been shutting down on us, so I don't know. Let's see. I don't know how to do this. I don't even know how to do this. How do I get out of here? I'm afraid if I hit this arrow, it's gonna...
How does this app work?
I might shut this down without realizing it. Okay, there, it went away. Okay. Yeah, it's just been restarting, so I don't have any questions on there. So that's going to conclude our first podcast video. We're going to be doing this with our other employees. We've got a hypnotherapist, we've got an art teacher, we've got another esthetician, and then I want to interview my clients because everyone has such a good story. The goal of this is just to be inclusive, empathetic, sympathetic, and open with every single person and all of their differences of beliefs and all of their experiences of trauma, so that we can come together. Because more so than just talk about political and religious differences, I think because people act like what they see, we're just going to love and embrace and be a community of people, because the more that we have normalcies of this, the more people will just drop the nonsense of the division. And that's the goal. So every podcast is going to be different because people are going to have different stories, different faiths, different political views, and none of it matters. It's about unity and loving your neighbor as yourself by really embracing who they are as a person and seeing what you can connect on that's similar. Put the differences aside and connect on something that you have similar. And most of the time that's hardships and trauma and debt.
Yep, we can all relate.
Yeah. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this will be posted properly. And stay tuned. We're going to try and do these once a week if time allows. Next week we'll have Tatum, our esthetician, with us, and we'll see her story. Have a great week.
Bye.
This one's going to take a minute because this phone is so glitchy. Maybe we'll just stay on live longer. There we go. In live, 3 viewers are currently watching. In now.